This is where the magic happens. We're here with the gorgeous first community chapter of the Legacy Antigen, titled The Sins of the Father, and brought wonderfully to life by the incredibly talented CatKenobi. Go send them your appreciation, because what I do here, just breaking down the lore, kind of pales in comparison to the effort and the heart that has gone into the artwork for this chapter. Never mind the actual story itself as well. And with that in mind, let's jump in, shall we? This is Sins of the Father. It's over, brother. I fell short. I failed all of you. But most of all, I failed myself. Life, as we know it, will never be the same again. Tina Matua, Uncle Makoa's being melodramatic again. Makoa, you heard your niece. Stop being melodramatic. Nik and Michael will be here any minute, and Tama refuses to come out of his room. I wanted everything to be perfect, but he won't. I love you, dear boy, but the way you're acting, you make Uncle Jarrett look sane. I just think if Michael got to know me, things would be less awkward. And your father? If he wants to avoid Nik, that's his choice. Not everything can be saved, Makoa. Quickly for some context, as discussed in one of my prior videos, Michael seems to be Nik's son. We originally thought it was Nik's partner. New evidence from loading screens suggests it is actually the son that Nik had with a mystery woman after he came out of the juvenile detention center, where he went for taking the blame for his and Gibraltar's motorcycle crash that cost Gibraltar's father his arm. As we see here, your Tama lost an arm, and you invited the man responsible to dinner, see? It's been 14 years, and I loved Nik. This isn't love talking, this is guilt. But you didn't steal that bike. Gibraltar did steal the bike. And you need to stop punishing yourself for your ex-boyfriend's bad decisions. Gibraltar needs to stop punishing himself for his own bad decisions. Good work, Aunt Leeki. But, yeah, you can see why the relationship between Gibraltar and his family and Nik is so strained, because Nik took the fall for Gibraltar, and that's kind of contributed to how much guilt this guy continually feels for what he did. And as we hear, I gotta say, I just love Aunt Leeky's visual design. Apparently CatKenobi got to do the actual character designs of Aunt Leeki and Samaria, and they both have this almost like Disney-esque feel to them. Especially Aunt Leeki feels like she's out of like Disney's Atlantis or something. Like they've got this really angular style to certain faces, and then these really like round chubby cheeks for the kids. I think this art style does absolute wonders for the story they're trying to tell here. Again, great work to CatKenobi. But back to the story. Aunt Leeki, there's something I haven't told you. About that night. Da-ding! So he was finally going to tell her. That's actually pretty impressive that Nik coming back into his life would have been enough here to get him to do that. That's where this arc is heading. Gibraltar gaining forgiveness for Nik from his father by accepting his own faults and having everyone forgive him for what he actually did, so that he can finally forgive himself and stop beating himself up all the goddamn time. And so, opportunity knocks. They're here. I'll get it. I want to see Uncle Makoa's head explode. Welcome to Olympus, brothers. Thanks. I only grew up in this paradise hellhole, which you should know. So I have to ask, did you hit your head in yesterday's match? Any other memory issues? Thought you were someone else, AJ. My head's fine. Long as it's on straight. No time for the rest. Bangalore needs us. Syndicate called. I swear, if this is another quest for a decapitated head. Boy, you get your jump kit and Saris bag before I whomp your ass. It's search and rescue, not whine and complain. Yeah! Anita requested you specifically, Chuckles. Okay, but the stew is simmering. Don't let that meat stay in them juices too long. Nik hates soggy Leviathan. And when they get here, don't you go sticking that tongue out of me, missy. When they get here, you tell Nik what? Ow! Damn! Hi yourself. And here again, you can see this gorgeously angular design to the face and the expressions. This almost cartoony feel really carries over the strong emotions here. Cool shit. I love how they've adapted for the community comics. These different art styles really bring something fresh to the table. Where's Michael? Oh, he's at the Trident, unloading the bags. Oh, I can help him. You don't have to. I want to. Maybe you shouldn't. Adorkable as this is, we gotta go. Go? Legend emergency. Search and rescue. You boys get settled in. Aunt Leeki will show you around. And don't you worry, brother. This shouldn't take long at all. This panel is insanely good. Look at the distension and the perspective and... getting to see them all together and dynamic action. Yeah, man. This panel alone is essentially super worth this entire chapter, right? And it's stuff we already know. I'm going through this chapter relatively quickly because it's at large relatively familiar. We know the sort of deal with Nik and Gibraltar. We are getting some clarification about Michael. And obviously Gibraltar has now been taken off. They've come to deal with the plant in itself, which seems to suggest more and more that the Medusa Vines are sentient. I like that the plant is being more and more made like an active agent, although it does make me suspicious about the whole like bleeding from the eyes thing, because there's a lot of people around these vines and no one else has actually bled from the eyes. Yeah, that will become important as we get through here, right? Makes me wonder how linked some of these things actually are. Caustic has a voice line where he talks about not linking correlation with causation, right? The people on board the Icarus, Lifeline seems to imply that they were all attacked. They have lacerations. So, is the pathogen actually anything to do with the plant? It'd be kind of interesting if it's not. It's being used as a cover-up, right? But so, the legends journey to the Icarus to fight off the plant a bit. Loba falls from here. We'll obviously have this moment continued in the second in-game chapter, I imagine. Whereas the community comics are going to focus us more back on some of the more familial, emotional journeys, like Gibraltar as we see here. Nik, we've got other characters and parents involved. Potentially at least Eduardo Silva. If not Mystic, and definitely Mirage's mum and dad. Mum and dad are apparently both on Olympus as well. We'll probably see Mirage and his folks turn up in the community chapters as well, I think. But that works really well for me, that the main chapters are going to be about dealing with the greater plot element, as in the plant and how it directly affects us as the legends. And then the community chapters are going to focus more on how those things affect the people that the legends care about, or that they have amends to make with, right? People are going to be put at risk so that others can redeem themselves by helping them. Maybe Mirage's dad can redeem himself in Mirage's eyes. Mirage can finally prove to his dad that him and his family are worth respecting, right? I really like that they're using the community eyes to give us the more grounded, realistic, again, sort of familial interactions. They're coming to actually essentially real people, if you will, to get the feels of real people. Everyone's real, and the writers are obviously really good at bringing these very relatable situations into this high concept sci-fi nonsensery, right? That's something that I personally really enjoy about Apex Legends, that its sci-fi is focused at the heart of the people involved rather than all the crazy bullshit. The crazy bullshit is great, but you need some emotional ties in there to make it feel worth it. That's what all these stories are about. They're about telling us who these characters are. It's not about the plan. Give a fuck about the plan, ultimately. It's about these people. And we know they're not going to die. So you put the things that they care about at risk so you can learn more about who they are. That's all these stories are here for. They're to tell us who these characters are. And develop the world around it, give you some framing devices for the new elements of the map and the new characters that you can play as and shit, right? That's live service narrative for you. That's how this shit rolls. Sorry, I'm just still a little caught up in how just gorgeous this damn frame is. Let's go to the last page, where we might see some of my points reach fruition. As we evidently return from the Icarus, Makoa! Good gods, what happened? We need to leave, now! Samaria, pack your bag. Where are Nik and Michael? In the backyard. What's got you so panicked? Tina Matua, I'm scared. It's okay, little one. I'll help you. Help! We need help! No. Not Nik. Nik, please tell me. No! 1 minute he was, And the next, his eyes were bleeding, right? You gotta help me save Michael. Please, you gotta help me save my son. Next chapter, the boy who hated Gibraltar. So, gives us our final confirmation that Michael is Nik's son, as mentioned earlier, and it fits very well that he is the preteen who Grace Rashid met, as Michael declared he was there to make Gibraltar suffer for what he had done, theoretically ruining Nik's life by being the reason that he went to juvie, etc, etc. Nik has forgiven Gibraltar, but evidently how Michael's life has turned out because of what happened has given him some maybe more rational cause to hate Gibraltar for what he did. But we then also come back to the bleeding eyes. It feels really suspicious to me that Michael and Angela Fazia are the only two who've had this bleeding eye syndrome while being near the plants. Like, why isn't Nik suffering the same thing? Why hasn't Gibraltar or any of the other legends who were in the Icarus contracted the legacy antigen? You then also have to look at Nik's letter to Gibraltar, the very first loading screen from this season, and to see that Nik signs off that letter with a very suspicious turn of phrase. It's gonna be killer, Makoa. Killer. Like, using the word killer twice makes you wonder why the chapter is called Sins of the Father. I know it makes sense from the writer's point of view to be hinting that sort of thing, even if that's not what Nik meant, but in universe, it feels like Nik is hinting at something. And you'd have to have made Nik pretty twisted from his time in juvie, which Gibraltar does sort of suggest he had kind of become a little, fell in with the wrong crowd. Nik would have to be pretty twisted to somehow, like, actively poison his own boy. Unless he was trying to get Makoa to redeem himself by proving that he would save Michael, even knowing that Michael is part of the reason why their relationship is strained, or he definitely doesn't help smooth their relationship out, right? But that feels too risky, and then Nik has to be involved at the sort of upper echelons of the people who orchestrated this, which could be the legends, especially based on one of the other loading screens where we have the person who took out the Icarus file on trial regarding the whole Icarus incident. They're supposedly quoted as saying, they all think we're the heroes, and that just speeds up the process, which that's evidently someone using their position related to the Apex games and or the legends to get such vital information that allows someone to recall the Icarus fleet, right? I think that's maybe a step too far for Nik. And it also really muddies the waters of what is actually going on here, that it makes Nik a super toxic, two-faced motherfucker, right? That's probably not where this story is going. For someone to do such manipulative and, like, harmful shit to produce a beneficial reaction out of someone else, like, that redemption doesn't feel earned, especially in this person's eyes, because this person is now a shit person, right? Who cares whether they feel someone's redeemed or not, if they're a shit person, yeah? It at least makes any redemption felt between those two empty. So I don't think that's the case, but this whole bleeding eye syndrome has made me ever more suspicious of what the legacy antigen actually is, whether it is actually linked to the plant or not. This could actually be an interesting way for us to learn the difference in how the legacy antigen works and how it's related to the plant, along with giving us an opportunity for redeeming Gibraltar, both in Nik's eyes, in Michael's eyes, and being able to sort of allow Nik to gain the forgiveness of Gibraltar's family by Gibraltar being able to admit he was the one who cost his dad his arm, right? Gibraltar's going to save everyone to save himself, to become more comfortable in who he is as a human being. That's just kind of nice, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we could all feel more comfortable in ourselves as human beings, thanks to a giant plant attack, or anything, right? So, as stated earlier, these community comics really seem to be the place where we're going to get the theme of family, the core theme of Apex Legends story as a whole, this is where that's going to be actualized upon the most resolutely. You'll be seeing that sort of storyline play out through the community chapters more so than you will in the in-game ones. So we've got a great setup here to push Gibraltar into his overall character growth, along with Nik, Michael, and Leeki, Samaria, and Papa Tama to move forward from here. And in terms of the general plot, I think the differential between who can get infected by the legacy antigen is going to be quite a key factor in our understanding of how the general plot progresses from here. So, as we come to a close, I once more have to just praise the absolutely gorgeous artwork from CatKenobi this week. This sort of stylistic flair really makes me look forward to how everyone else is going to execute on the rest of the community chapters, and I just have to extend a huge congratulations to those artists for getting to work on what seems to be a very promising story. But with that, that's enough out of me for today. Thank you for staying with me, friends. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of Sins of the Father today, and that you're as glad as I am that nobody could actually leak this so as to spoil the story for anybody. I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. Take care of yourselves out there, teammates, and may the glorious light of Beskil shine within you. Bye-bye.